Okay, good morning to you guys. Welcome back. Nice to see you guys here. Welcome to everyone joining us online as well. This is the second day of our 5-day course where I'm teaching how to build harmony in your relationships. And we're going to be starting off with learning loving kindness meditation, because this is going to transform the mind away from anger, hatred, ill will, and all the lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll be able to have love and kindness towards all beings around you. Right now, that might be challenging in some cases, and that's because of what we talked about yesterday, which is the craving, the desire, the longing, the yearning, the wanting, the expecting people to be a certain way. When someone meets your expectations, you might like them, but when they're not meeting your expectations, you might dislike them. So you can actually transform this where you can understand impermanence and that everyone's going to meet your expectations, because that's what you're doing within your own mind. That's what you're expecting, but not everybody's going to conform to your expectations and the way that you see the world. So it's important to transform the mind away from all those discontent feelings, and loving kindness meditation is an important way to be able to help you to do that. So I'm going to guide you in understanding how to do this meditation and why you would do it, and then we're going to actually do it together. So even though we usually start off class with meditation, I'm actually going to be teaching you meditation first before we actually go into actually doing it. So first, let's just look at these types of meditations that the Buddha taught. The Buddha taught these 4 types of meditations. What I teach in a lot of the other classes is the breathing mindfulness meditation. Meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the positions of seated, lying, standing, and walking. So here with breathing mindfulness meditation, you can see that you're eliminating craving, desire, attachment. That's important to be able to get rid of your anger. You wouldn't be able to get rid of any of those feelings I mentioned, like anger, frustration, agitation, annoyance, and things like that, if you weren't eliminating your cravings, desires, attachments. So it's important that you're working on eliminating that through breathing mindfulness meditation. And then you're cultivating the wholesome quality of mindfulness or awareness of mind and concentration, where you can be focused and concentrated and have awareness of what's going on in your own mind. So this is like taking the mind to the gym and exercising it, that in the meditation, you're focused on the breath, and whenever the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off, let it go, and bring the mind back to the breath. The goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to notice your thoughts sooner and sooner and let them go easier and easier. And this is what's going to be able to help you to eliminate your craving, desire, attachment, because the mind's holding on, wanting things to be a certain way, expecting them to be a certain way. The mind doesn't know how to let go. So if 2 to 3 times a day you're training your mind with breathing mindfulness meditation to let go, let go, let go, then when you're having those challenges and difficulties where you're noticing frustration or stress or anxiety or things like this coming up, you'll be able to let go. But your mind needs to gradually mature through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. You need to accumulate the benefits of this meditation. If you haven't been meditating or you've just recently started meditating, you're not going to be able to easily let go of some deeply held attachments. But as you gradually practice this meditation, along with generosity, like we were talking yesterday, your mind will gradually learn to let go and let go and let go. And as you're doing that, then you're going to need to bring in the loving kindness meditation in order to break up the anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, and things like this. Like I mentioned, even the slightest dislike towards others. This loving kindness meditation is not only going to help you cultivate loving kindness towards others, but towards yourself too, because sometimes people have this negative, degrading self-talk in their mind where they're diminishing themselves. Well, this is going to help you to cultivate loving kindness towards this being, who you are as well. So what you're eliminating here is all those strong feelings of anger, hatred, and ill will, but all the lesser versions as well. And then you're cultivating this loving kindness. What loving kindness is it's an active goodwill towards all beings without judgment. This is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. When I say active goodwill towards all beings without judgment, what that means is that sometimes what we're taught in society, which isn't a wise thing, is we're taught don't respect others until they respect you. Right? If everybody was practicing this, where I'm not going to respect you until you respect me, Well, I'm not going to respect you until you respect me. Well, that means nobody's respecting anybody, right? Because everybody's holding back their respect and nobody's respecting anybody. Well, if you did that with your loving kindness, you're not actually going to be able to experience loving kindness coming back to you. It's what you put out that's going to actually come back to you. So if you're holding back your loving kindness, trying to judge whether this person deserves your loving kindness or not, you're not actually practicing loving kindness, because you're judging this individual to determine whether or not they deserve your loving kindness. Where what you would like to do is break through that wall and be loving and kind with all individuals. And as you're putting out loving kindness, you'll see over time more and more this is coming back to you. If you're not practicing to be loving and kind, if you're putting your expectations on people, if you're being bitter, harsh, and hostile towards them, if you're pushing people away, you're not going to be able to experience loving kindness coming back to you, because you're not practicing loving kindness yourself. When we're putting expectations on people and trying to control them, this is based on our own selfish desires and what we want, instead of allowing this individual to do things in their own way, in a way that they feel comfortable. Then our decision is whether or not we would like to choose to spend time with this person or not, based on our choices and our decisions. But as soon as we start trying to control others, this is our selfishness, our expectations. So in order to have loving kindness towards others, you need to be sure that you're not practicing where you're putting expectations and wants on other people. And that's part of not judging others and determining whether they deserve your loving kindness, but just choosing to practice love and kindness with everyone. Loving kindness is an antidote or wholesome root. We talked about this yesterday. It's the remedy for anger, hatred, and ill will, and all those lesser versions. This is going to help you eliminate your harshness, your bitterness, your hostility, your resentment, the animosity that's in the mind. And this is one of the Brahma Viharas, or those 4 healthy mental states that I'm going to teach you today. So that's what loving kindness is. Some people refer to this as metta. This is the Pali word, but everything I teach pretty much is all in English, so I use the English word. Remember yesterday when we were talking about the Eightfold Path, I discussed and shared with you how there's this core central teaching of the Eightfold Path and everything else plugs into it, right? Well, this loving kindness plugs into the Eightfold Path. And these are just a couple of the places where you can see that loving kindness plugs into the Eightfold Path. If you remember back to right intention or right thinking or right thought, the Buddha teaches the intention of renunciation, non-ill will, and harmlessness. Non-ill will is goodwill. That's loving kindness. What he's teaching you is cultivate the thinking or the thought of loving kindness, because then your speech and your actions can emanate from those thoughts and that thinking of being loving and kind. Then if you remember back to right speech, when we were talking about the 5 factors of well-spoken speech, the 5th factor is speaking with a mind of loving kindness. Well, how could you practice speaking with a mind of loving kindness and having the intention of non-ill will or goodwill if you didn't have a tool or technique to be able to help you to cultivate that? So that's what this meditation is to help you cultivate this quality of mind where you can be loving and kind with all beings around you without judging them. This is unconditional love, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Here, the Buddha is talking to his students, and he's before this explaining to people that while he teaches them to practice the 5 factors of well-spoken speech, speaking at the proper time, what you say is true, gentle, beneficial, with a mind of loving kindness, he was reminding his students that, hey, other people aren't going to necessarily talk to you in the same way that you're talking to them. So when other people talk to you in an untimely way, or they talk to you with falsehoods, or they talk to you with harshness, or they talk to you unbeneficially, or they speak to you with a mind of inner hate, he says this is what you should do. Herein, monks, you should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected. We shall utter no evil words. We shall reside compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall reside enveloping that person with a mind filled with loving kindness. And starting with him, we shall reside enveloping the all-encompassing world with a mind filled with loving kindness, abundant, joyful, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. That is how you should train monks. So here the Buddha is saying, even though people speak to you in unkind ways, essentially, that you should train your mind to be unaffected by that. Because if you have a craving and an expectation that people will speak to you in a certain way, or they will communicate with you in a certain way, when they don't do that, you'll be frustrated, you'll be agitated, you might be angry or having other discontent feelings. But if you can understand impermanence, that not everyone's going to speak to you in a certain way, then when somebody's speaking to you, no matter how they're speaking to you, you can remain peaceful and joyful. You can remain unaffected. And even though this person is maybe speaking in unskillful ways and in unwise ways, you can have compassion for them, which is concern for their misfortune, because it's so unfortunate that they haven't learned these teachings and that they're still in the world practicing harmfulness. While you're practicing harmlessness, other people might be practicing harmfulness. And that's so unfortunate. That's the compassion, the mental state of concern for their misfortune. And then the loving kindness is a genuine interest in seeing them be well. That doesn't mean you're going to do anything. That's just that your mental state is that you have concern for their misfortune and you have a genuine interest in seeing them be well. And now there's no need to be bitter and harsh and hostile back to this person, because this is just unwise speech that they're choosing to use, and you don't have to use that same unwise speech. Because if someone's speaking to you in an unwise way, like say they're being bitter, harsh, and hostile, and you're bitter, harsh, and hostile back, you're just going to keep this thing going. It's like somebody picks up a rubber ball and they throw it around the room. Well, you pick up the rubber ball and you throw it around the room. They pick up the rubber ball and throw it. You pick it up and throw it. Next thing you know, you got all these rubber balls bouncing around the room. But if somebody picks up a rubber ball and throws it around the room, you can just watch it roll to the corner and lose its energy. So if somebody is bitter and harsh and hostile towards you, you're not going to stop that by being bitter, harsh, and hostile back. You can just let it lose its energy. You can just smile and walk away. Right? This is the way to extinguish that. You don't have to even respond to someone who's being bitter, harsh, and hostile, because it's not the proper time to speak. Their mind is not calm and peaceful and joyful, so it's not even the proper time to speak. It doesn't meet the 5 criteria of the 5 factors of well-spoken speech, so just walk away. That's usually the best thing to do in those situations. And if this person gets angry that you've walked away, that's their craving, desire, attachment. That's indication for you that it's wise to walk away. And over time, what this person is going to learn is that if you would like to talk with me, you're going to need to be calm. I don't talk with people unless they're calm, right? You start being bitter, harsh, and hostile with me, okay, I'm walking away, right? I'm not even going to respond to that. And now if this person is truly interested in speaking with you at some point, they're going to learn, wow, every time I'm bitter, harsh, and hostile, they walk away. Wow, I better calm down so I can talk to this person because I'd like to talk to them, right? So this is the way that you can make choices for yourself about what you're involved in. If you stand there and talk with somebody or argue with someone when they're being bitter, harsh, and hostile, you're just picking up the rubber ball and continuing to throw it around the room. So the Buddha is teaching you to remain unaffected and have this compassion and this loving kindness, being joyful within your own mind, without hostility and without ill will. These are some teachings from the Buddha about loving kindness meditation. He was actually here teaching his son, Rahula. Sometimes people think that the Buddha left his family and never came back. This isn't actually true. He actually left for 6 years, trained his mind, and then he came back to the area where his family was, and they were joining him to be able to learn how to get to enlightenment. This is his son. His wife came to join him as a student. His stepmother, who was essentially his aunt because his mom died. He had brother-in-laws and cousins and people like this coming to join in order to learn how to get to enlightenment. So here he's teaching his son Rahula, develop meditation on loving kindness. For when you develop meditation on loving kindness, any ill will be abandoned. This is how a Buddha speaks. Very clear, very concise. You don't have to interpret his words. You don't have to figure out what he's saying. He's saying it very clear. If you would like to eliminate ill will, it's loving kindness meditation that's going to help you to do that. That's the technique to get rid of your anger, hatred, and ill will towards others. Then he says, loving kindness should be developed to abandon ill will. Again, very clear, very straightforward. Because not only do you need to practice the meditation, But you need to go out in the world and be loving and kind through your intention, speech, and actions. You won't meditate your way to the elimination of anger. You need meditation, but you need to go out into the world and be loving and kind with the people around you. That's where the real transformation is occurring. You can think about the meditation like filling up your gas tank, and then you go out into the world and you're loving and kind with people, right? So that's where the real transformation is occurring through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, where the meditation is kind of helping you and supporting you to be able to do that. So here the Buddha is teaching his students once again, and just to give you some background before I share this teaching with you, that during the lifetime of the Buddha, there were other people that were teaching. It wasn't just him. There were other people claiming that it was their teachings that led to enlightenment. But he knew it was his teachings that led to enlightenment, that it wasn't these other teachers. So he continued to share his teachings. But oftentimes his students would come in contact with students of other teachers, and they would talk and they would kind of compare notes, so to speak. Just like now, like some of you guys might meet other people in the community, and you might go out into a smoothie shop or a restaurant and encounter someone who's studying Buddhism, and you guys might be talking about, what your teacher is teaching you versus what their teachers are teaching them. So the Buddha said to his students, suppose they ask, meaning suppose these other students from other teachers ask, but what, friends, is the reason unarisen anger does not arise and arisen anger is abandoned? You should answer, the liberation of mind by loving kindness. For one who attends carefully to the liberation of the mind by loving kindness, any unarisen anger does not arise, and arisen anger is abandoned. This, friends, is the reason unarisen anger does not arise, and arisen anger is abandoned. What unarisen anger is that mental object we were talking about yesterday of ill will, that deeply rooted container in the mind. That is there, and it's possible that could arise at any point. If you have a craving that is triggered, your unarisen anger could arise. And the Buddha is saying the way to make sure that this unarisen anger does not arise, essentially the way to break up this mental object of ill will and get it out of your mind, is loving kindness meditation. And then he's saying, okay, any arisen anger, like say you are angry, say you're driving in traffic and somebody cuts you off, and now you are at home or at work and you're angry. That's arisen anger. The mind has now got anger in it. And he's saying the way to get rid of that is loving kindness. So if you're practicing loving kindness, that's the way to eliminate and eradicate the arisen anger from the mind. So that's why loving kindness meditation is so important, because the longer you allow your mind to dwell in these conditioned feelings, particularly anger, your mind's just going to stay wired that way. So as soon as your mind gets angry, if you allow it to stay like that for multiple hours and multiple days, it's just going to stay wired that way. So when your mind gets angry, you would like to break that up as soon as possible. And that's where the loving kindness meditation comes in. And more, your mind isn't going to be wired that way. Like right now, when you experience something and one of your cravings get triggered, you might go down this well-worn path of anger. But you know where that leads? It leads to broken relationships. It leads to heartache and misery and difficulties and challenges in life. That's not where you would like to be able to head in your life. So now that you understand that anger is being caused by your own mind, you might decide that you would be interested in transforming it. Because in the past, you might have thought that this anger was being caused by other people. And you might felt like you were justified in your anger. But now if you understand right view and you understand your own mind is causing these feelings based in craving, desire, attachment, instead of going down this path of anger where you know that it leads to broken relationships and hostility and resentment and difficulties and struggles, instead you're like getting out a machete and you're cutting down this new path. You're breaking through the bushes and the branches and the stickers, and you're creating this new path. And that's why it's challenging, because your mind wants to go down this well-worn path. But more and more as you break down this new path and you create this new pathway, this old pathway overgrows. The branches and the stickers and the grass grows back, and now your mind doesn't go down that path anymore. Because when people are doing things around you, you just understand like, oh, this is impermanence. That's all this is, right? My mind, if you let go of craving, desire, attachment, wants, and expectations, you can just be like, oh, okay, well, I do it this way, but that person is choosing to do it a different way. That's normal. That's impermanence. Where before you might have wanted them to do it your way, and when you didn't get it your way, you went down this well-worn path of anger. Now you can go down this path of loving kindness, being loving and kind, and realizing any feelings that might be arising is not from other people, it's from your own mind. And ultimately, you'll eventually get to the point where you've 100% extinguished all your craving, desire, attachment, all your wanting and expecting people to be a certain way, and you'll also have eliminated your anger and all those lesser versions, the frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike. You can get to the point where your own thoughts, even your own inner dialogue, is positive and bright and uplifted, that you're not being degrading and disparaging to yourself or to other people. So it's loving kindness meditation that's going to help you to be able to accomplish that. So do you guys have any questions so far on what I've described about why the Buddha taught loving kindness meditation and what it is? I'm going to teach you how to do it here in a moment, but I just would like to pause here before I teach you how to do it. Remember, for those of you guys online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom, unmute your microphone, and ask any questions that you like. Looks like we have some questions coming in here. Everyone's getting a microphone. All right, who would like to go first?
Hello, good morning. I would like to know, so the only thing that we should do is to leave? I mean, if someone is behaving in a bad way, bad words or hostile, we cannot just set some boundaries and say, hey, this is not what I would like to receive, or this is not what you would like to receive from outside.
The word boundary and setting boundaries, that's just another word for an expectation. I expect you to function in this way, and when you don't do that, you have crossed my boundary. And this is like going out into the world and teaching others how they should or shouldn't behave. It's not up to us to go out into the world and teach others how they should or shouldn't behave, because that's giving unsolicited guidance to people. That's one's own ego saying, I know how individuals should behave, and now I'm going to teach you how you should or shouldn't behave. And now you're going around the world telling everybody what they should or shouldn't be doing, coming from one's own ego. This is unsolicited guidance. Instead, you're not causing that harshness and hostility and bitterness that's coming from them, and there's nothing you can do or say that's going to stop that from occurring. What's happening there is that individual has a lack of wisdom, right? Because they don't understand the natural laws. They're having craving, and then it's arising their anger, and you can't fix that. Their mind has to cultivate the wisdom to realize that it's unwise to speak to people that way. They need to cultivate the wisdom to understand how to eliminate craving, anger. If you're there trying to tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing, you're giving unsolicited guidance, which is coming from your ego. You're putting an expectation on them, and it's just going to blow up. It's better to walk away. And when you walk away, slowly but surely, this individual is going to learn that, hey, if I would like to talk to her, I'm going to need to be calm. And it's going to take 2 or 3 or 4 times to do this. But as you do, you're going to see that if it's people that are close to you, they're going to start transforming the way they function around you, because they're going to see that every time they talk a certain way, you walk away, and they're not going to be interested in that. So they're going to start being more calm. So this is opposite of what people are teaching about boundaries and stuff like that. But none of that stuff is going to work to create peacefulness for you. What boundaries are trying to change the outside world in order to get other people to do things my way. And this isn't going to lead to your peacefulness. This is just going to create more and more difficulties.
Okay, thank you. And then would you do it in silence? Like, I mean, you don't reply and just in silence, you just turn and go?
Yeah.
Or how do you?
Yeah, at this point in my life, I would just smile and I would just walk away.
Okay.
And if they get angrier, that's actually evidence for you that it's wise to walk away, because in that situation, the whole reason why they're angry to begin with is because they're having craving, desire, attachment. And the thing that's going to help them is they need to let it go. And if I stay there in a conversation with them, they're not going to let it go. Their mind's just going to hold on and hold on. So when I walk away, if they become more and more angry, then eventually couple hours later or what have you, their mind's going to have to let it go. And then over time, they're going to become more and more peaceful and more joyful. Staying in the conversation doesn't provide their mind the opportunity to let go. And then if you're unenlightened, your mind's going to probably get angry too. And now you guys have a big argument and all kinds of problems. It's better to just walk away because it's not the proper time to talk. Remember the 5 factors of well-spoken speech?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And if it's something that, I mean, for instance, I leave something here that it's mine and someone takes it, should I say something, or is just like I should just, like take something that it's yours, for instance, or...
That's different, right? That's not someone being bitter, harsh, and hostile. Someone has stolen an item that belongs to you. And there's no harm in you saying, excuse me, can I have my mobile phone back? That was my mobile phone, or whatever it is that you say, right? Okay. You can address those kinds of things. So when you're walking away, it's when someone's being bitter, harsh, and hostile. Okay. But if you have someone that stole something, it doesn't mean you just walk away from it, right? That wouldn't be necessarily wise. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, that was your same questions? Okay. Hugo, you have some questions?
At times, I've got my ego running away with me for something that somebody said in the past. And it's the middle of the night. What I tend to do is, to invoke love and kindness, meditation, but not as meditation as such, just, the words, may they be peaceable, blah, 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 blah. Your comments on that, please.
Yeah, the ego is not going to be eliminated through loving kindness meditation. You're still going to need loving kindness meditation to eliminate your anger, but the ego gets eliminated through other techniques. That's in volume 1, chapter 16. But what you're talking about is like, of course, if you've learned loving kindness meditation, the phrases that we use during loving kindness meditation. There's no harm in repeating those in your mind in your day-to-day life. Like there were times when I knew loving kindness meditation that I was back living in the USA, and I'd be driving in traffic and someone would cut me off. Where in the past, before I knew loving kindness meditation, it was like lay on the horn. It was like, it was like angry and frustrated. Well, after I learned loving kindness meditation, when somebody cut me off, it was like, all right, brother, the lane's yours. May you be well. Have fun. Take it. Right? I'm not even interested in being around this person anyway, because they're making unwise decisions. They're making erratic decisions about driving. So just like I would walk away from someone who's anger and bitter and harsh and hostile, this person who's making unwise decisions about their moral conduct and the way they function in the world, I'm not interested in being around that. So I'll just lay off the accelerator, let them go, have the lane, and then I'm just going to continue on my day. But in my mind, I might be thinking, and I might even say out loud, may you be well. Have the lane, brother. May you be well. Take care. May you be safe, right? May you be peaceful. So you can say those things in your mind in your day-to-day life when you're encountering various, contact and various experiences in your day-to-day life.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right. I don't see any other questions anywhere online. So now I'm going to share with you guys how to actually do loving kindness meditation, because we're going to do this here in a moment. It's just like the other meditation that you guys know, the breathing mindfulness meditation. We're going to start with the chanting to ease into the meditation. That's going to help you get more benefit out of the meditation. Then once we're in the meditation, I'm going to guide you in breathing mindfulness meditation, because you do a little bit of breathing mindfulness meditation on the front side of your loving kindness meditation. Now, after we do our breathing mindfulness meditation, I'll guide you first. Then there'll be kind of like a 3-minute period where we're just doing the breathing mindfulness meditation, kind of preparing the mind. Then we're going to go into the loving kindness meditation. That's where I'm going to be saying these affirmations. I'm going to be saying these out loud. And I'll be using very general, very broad affirmations like, may I be peaceful, just like it shows here. May I be safe, well, and free of discontentedness. And I'm doing this on the out breath. So I'm taking a nice gradual breath in, and then on the out breath, may I be peaceful. Okay? And I'm doing that on the out breath. And then I'm going to take a nice gradual breath in, and then may I be safe, right? I'm going to do one ring, starting with I, because you need to have loving kindness for this being who you are. Then we're going to expand that, and you're going to hear me go, mom and dad, right? So you're thinking about mom and dad in your mind. May mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of discontentedness. You're not trying to change mom and dad. You're not sending them loving kindness. You're not asking somebody else to make them peaceful. What you're doing is you're rewiring your mind that you're only interested in seeing these individuals be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness, so that now when you're around mom and dad, you can be more loving and kind. That's where you're going to transform your relationships. Then we're going to go to wider and wider and wider rings. And then ultimately we're going to get to all beings, okay? Because you're not interested in leaving anyone out. Then we're going to go back to breathing mindfulness and then back to chanting. Now, while I'm doing very general rings, when you do this on your own, you're going to need to customize this, right? If you have certain people that you have anger and hatred or frustration towards, you're going to need to include them in your meditation. So it might be, may Bob be peaceful. May Susie be peaceful, right? It might be certain individuals that are either currently in your life or maybe they're long in the past. Maybe you'll never even see these people again. Maybe they're even dead. But if your mind is holding on to anger, you're not going to get to liberation. You're not going to get to peace. So you need to let that go. So one of the ways that some people like to do this is they will start out with themselves and they will do a ring or two of people that they do have loving kindness for to kind of bubble that up. Then they'll go to people who they're more neutral about, maybe like coworkers or neighbors. You don't exactly love them, or I'm sorry, you don't exactly hate them, but you don't exactly love them either. So you like to go to people you're more neutral about. But then ultimately you'd like to get to some people that you do have anger and hatred for. So this loving kindness that you brought up in your mind, it can kind of bubble over into this group. So when I first started doing this, I had a lot of resentment in my mind towards my mom because of things that happened in our childhood. So I had mom in my meditation for a good 6 months, gradually wearing away this anger and hatred that I had in my mind. But eventually I realized I didn't have any more anger towards my mom. So she got out of my meditation. And there were other people that I brought into my meditation. At this time when I learned this, I was in business. So there might have been an employee in there for a week or two that I had challenges with. My mind was being frustrated towards them, or maybe a customer. One time, one of the landlords of one of the facilities I was renting came in and got up in my face and was threatening to kill me in front of my employees, in front of my customers, in front of my students, right? And I put them in the loving kindness meditation for a little while. Sometimes I would even get cut off in traffic, like I mentioned, and I don't even know this person's name. And maybe for 2 or 3 days, I put them in the meditation because I wasn't interested in my mind grabbing on and having any hatred. So I didn't even know this person's name. I say, may that person who cut me off in traffic be peaceful. Right? So you would like to not allow your mind to absorb or get stained by any of this anger, hatred, or ill will. Don't allow it to stay there. You got to clean it up and make sure it's not in the mind. And this meditation is how you're going to be able to do that. Then you go out into the world and be loving and kind with all the people around you through your intention, speech, and actions. And if you're developing a meditation practice of 2 or 3 times per day for 30 minutes or more, if you make this your morning meditation, it's going to set you up really nice to go out into the world and be loving and kind. And that doesn't mean you can't do it in the afternoon or the evening, because you surely can. But if you do it in the morning, it's going to set you up really nicely to go out into your day being loving and kind. But let's just say at 3 p.m. you get a phone call and you're noticing anger arising in your mind. Hey, do some loving kindness meditation, right? No harm, no foul. But in the morning, if you do one, that's a really good way to kind of set up your mind to go out into the world and be loving and kind with your colleagues and your friends and family and people like this. Okay, so any questions on how we actually do this loving kindness meditation? Anything you guys would like to ask? No? Okay, would you guys like to try it? Yeah, you like to try it? Okay. So for everybody here and everybody online, I'm going to start with the chanting. If you guys would like to get the chanting sheets, you're welcome to. For those of you guys online, the chanting sheets are on our website at buddhadailywisdom.com. You can go there and click on free books, and you'll be able to scroll down and see the chanting sheet down towards the bottom. I'm going to do the chanting first on the way in, and then I'll come in with the guidance for breathing mindfulness meditation. There's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're all meditating. Then I'm going to come in with the affirmations for loving kindness. Then we're going to go back to breathing mindfulness and then come out with the chanting. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Potang Mahakawanang Apiwa Teami Sawakato Mahakawata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakatoro Kawitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, in the upper body erect. Just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to absorb the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath. Then I'll be back with any guidance with loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these affirmations in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May Mom and Dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May my family, friends, neighbors, and co-workers all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who have harmed me be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May all beings, wherever they reside, be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato สาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโพโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, I'm going to share a few things with you here as we wrap up this topic about loving kindness meditation. Then I'm going to open up to any questions that you guys might have. The first thing I'll share is that when the Buddha is teaching about loving kindness and transforming the mind, he talks about this gradual wearing away of the anger, hatred, or will, that it's not going to be something that's quick or instantaneous. You can't just snap your fingers and instantly eliminate any of these discontent feelings, and you can't just snap your fingers and eliminate your cravings and things like this. There's this gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And when he talks about eliminating your anger, he gives this great analogy where he talks about this digging tool that has a wooden handle. And each time you're digging with this tool, he talks about how you're wearing away the wood on the handle of the tool. Each day, you're not going to know how much wood you're wearing away from the handle of the tool, but when the handle is completely exhausted and you need to replace it, you'll know that. And he explains how your anger, hatred, or will is exactly the same way. And I agree with this, that each day when you're meditating, you're not going to know how much anger, hatred, or will you're wearing away. But when it's completely gone, you're going to know that. So like, for example, when I was meditating, doing my mom as part of my loving kindness meditation, I didn't know each day during that 6-month period how much anger, hatred, or will I was wearing away. I just stayed committed to it. I just stayed focused on it. I had confidence and determination and diligence to keep practicing this loving kindness meditation. So each day I was wearing away anger and hatred in my mind that I had, resentment, animosity, and bitterness that I had. I didn't know how much each day, but when it was completely gone, I knew that. Because it had been 6 months, a year, 2 years. I hadn't had any anger towards my mom whatsoever. So I knew when it was completely gone. So this is what you're going to notice with your anger, hatred, or will as you're wearing it away. That you're not going to know how much of it each day you're wearing away. You just need to stay committed and dedicated to it. And then ultimately, once it's fully gone, you'll know that. Because it'll be 6 months, a year, 2 years. You haven't been angry or bitter or harsh with certain people or any people. Ultimately, by the time you get rid of your anger, you won't have any anger. It'll be physically impossible for your mind to experience anger by the time you completely transform the mind. So that's the first thing I'd like to share. The second thing I'd like to share is it's important to keep in mind that this meditation isn't to change other people. Sometimes when people hear us say, may mom and dad be peaceful, may mom and dad be safe, they think it's like a prayer, like you're trying to invoke some special power to make mom and dad peaceful. This isn't the case. What you're doing is you're rewiring your mind to be more loving and kind, so that then when you're around mom and dad, you can be more loving and kind. Or when you have thoughts of mom and dad, because some of your parents might actually have passed away, when you have thoughts about mom and dad, you can have thoughts of love and kindness towards them. So this is to transform your mind. So when I was doing this meditation, I was transforming my mind. So then when I was around my mom, I was more loving and more kind. And that's what transformed our relationship. The third thing that I'd like to share is that you heard in the meditation that I said, may all those who have caused me harm be peaceful, right? Other people can't cause you discontentedness. They can't cause you to experience any particular feeling, but they can cause you harm. Harm is when someone's causing harm to your physical body, to your material possessions, or to your reputation, something like this. That's the harm. So someone can cause us harm, but if our mind is discontent, our mind is causing that ourselves. So for example, if I stole someone's car, I've caused that person harm, because now they can't go to work, they can't take their children to school if they have children, they can't go to the store and acquire the basic necessities that they need in order to live their life. So I've caused this person harm. But if that person's discontent that their car is gone, their mind is actually causing it itself, because it's holding on and craving for this car to be permanent. I've done something unwise, obviously, but it's their mind that is causing their own discontentedness. So when I use that in the meditation, may all those who have caused me harm be peaceful, it's about material possessions, physical injury, reputation, things like this. And the same thing is, for any beings that I've caused harm to. I haven't caused anyone to be discontent, but I have caused harm in the past, right? I've caused harm to people's material possessions, to their physical body, or to their reputation. And that's what you're doing that meditation, that you're thinking of those individuals, training your mind to let that go. And anybody who's caused you harm, you're training your mind to let that go. So that's what this particular aspect of the meditation is for. So this is to transform your mind. It's not to change other people. And as you gradually do this meditation over time, you'll gradually see how it affects your mind. And now you can be more loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. As I mentioned, I usually recommend that people do this in the morning as a beginning meditation, so that then you can go out into your day and be loving and kind with the people around you. And that's where the real transformation is occurring. So do you guys have any questions, either here at the temple or anybody online, about loving kindness meditation? Remember, here at the temple, you guys can use the microphones. Online, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Okay, let's see here. I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take a break here for you guys. It's 10 minutes after 10. Let's take a 20-minute break up to 10:30. And when we come back, I'm going to teach you guys this next topic of identifying cravings, cultivating non-craving, and analysis of the mind. This is where you're going to be able to identify your cravings, desires, attachments, and almost surgically go in and remove them from the mind. So I'm going to teach you guys this after break. Okay, so enjoy your break, and I'll spend time with you guys afterwards.